I love all roller coasters, even the bad ones. Some would say, especially the bad ones. But not all roller coasters are created equal. You have your undeniable gems, ones that are universally applauded and that nearly everyone who likes roller coasters enjoys. Then you've got your more controversial points of contention, ones that have the discourse more or less split on whether or not they're enjoyable. You even have your universally lambasted ones, ones that only a mother could love. But today, I want to go a step further and focus on the coasters that are too bad to even be considered bad. The rides that spent years in development hell, cost their owners a fortune, and were eventually unceremoniously torn down, or worse. This is the Vertical Drop Viking. I'm Josef, and these are the top 10 roller coaster fails of all time. Number 10, Batman and Robin the Chiller. This dual-track launch coaster from Premier Rides was set to open at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey in 1997. After operating for 11 days, the ride was found to be unreliable and uncomfortable and was closed down for 8 months to be reconfigured. When it reopened, its 432 linear induction motors were so power-hungry that the racing coaster could not operate both sides at the same time, or it would cause brownouts in not only the park, but the surrounding area as well. The ride continued to be plagued with problems, including pervasive ride downtime, consistent areas of valleying and LIM failure, and several more serious incidents. Its train's restraints were changed over the 2001-2002 seasons. Its zero-G roll was removed for its 2007 season, and it operated for less than 2 months before another incident closed it permanently. At number 9, we have Drachen Fire. This Aero custom looper from 1992 was the first one that Aero designed with the emerging computer-aided design, or CAD technology. It was also the first Aero coaster to attempt to copy B&M's two-pillar style support system. Among its 6 inversions were 2 elements that were never seen before or since on an Aero coaster, a cobra roll and a cutback, as well as a corkscrew in the first drop. Imagine the force of a corkscrew within a first drop, combined with the jank of Aero's banking transitions. You have a bit of a disaster on your hands before the ride even opens. After a massive ad campaign on behalf of the ride, Busch Gardens Williamsburg hired comedian Dana Carvey to serve as a master of ceremonies for the grand opening of Drachen Fire to the public. The ride failed to stay open for the entirety of its own grand opening, and Dana Carvey was forced to turn the opening ceremony into an impromptu stand-up comedy session. So the next time you think you're having bad luck, just think, you could have planned a trip to go ride a one-of-a-kind roller coaster, and instead found yourself stuck on the lift hill, listening to Garth from Wayne's World tell jokes about Bill Clinton, with no way to escape. I'll take hell, thanks. Number 8 is the Harley Quinn Crazy Coaster at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo, California. This coaster thing advertised a 70-mile-per-hour experience, but actually delivered a 70-mile-per-hour crossing speed, meaning the ride vehicles traveled at a steady 35 miles an hour. The layout was an Immelman into a dive loop, back into that Immelman, back into that dive loop, over and over again until the ride operator felt like letting you off. Eventually, the ride operator had to take pity on you, right? This ride was ridiculously loud, dwarfed by nearly every other ride in the park, uncomfortable, and not fun. It was also regularly down for maintenance. It operated for just 1 year, and it was removed completely 2 years later. It stood doing nothing for 2 years. This ride also has the distinction of having its permanent closure announced in a Facebook comment. Number 7, we have Windjammer Surf Racers. This Togo racing coaster at Knott's Berry Farm only operated for 3 seasons, and it was rarely open during those seasons. Constant maintenance issues plagued the ride, and the restraints were famously uncomfortable, bordering on painful. This coaster cost Knott's over $6 million to build and construct, and another $2 million in maintenance and repairs within the first 3 weeks. Frustration with the underdelivery on Togo's part from the management of Knott's led to a lawsuit being filed against Togo. While this lawsuit was eventually dismissed, Togo would close their U.S. offices and never design another coaster for the U.S. market ever again. Number 6, Twist Coaster Robin. This S&S looping coaster opened at Yomiuri Land in Tokyo, Japan, replacing a coaster called White Canyon, which is also reportedly one of the roughest coasters ever constructed. This new coaster opened on the 19th of March 2014 and operated for 2 hours and 42 minutes before its anti-rollback mechanism completely failed, causing a train to careen back down the lift hill into the station and crash into the train behind it. Due to the failure of this important safety mechanism, the coaster was never able to pass inspection by the Japanese government, and it never opened again. It was torn down in February 2016. This disaster cost the park 450 million yen, which is nearly 4.5 million US dollars under 2014's exchange rate. At number 6, we have Ring Racer. This is another S&S coaster. This one had a pneumatic launch, and it was designed to be part of the Nürburgring sports racing complex in Nürburgring, Germany. The coaster was designed to use vast differences and fluctuations in air pressure to launch the train to 135 miles an hour in 2.5 seconds. But after being installed on site at an elevation of nearly 2,000 feet above sea level, the air pressure differentials in reality weren't in line with how the ride was designed on paper, and the coaster was only operating at a fraction of its intended speed. It had a soft opening event to the press under this reduced launch capacity, but contractors were still working around the clock to get the ride running correctly. On September 3, 2009, the pneumatic system powering the launch was pushed past its breaking point. An explosion rocked the ride, injuring 7 contractors who were working on site and doing great damage to the ride structure itself. This pushed the opening of the coaster to the public back by over a year and damaged the reputation of the ride irreparably. Still, the racing complex worked to get their coaster open. In May 2011, the pneumatic system exploded again, this time luckily not injuring any innocent bystanders, but still setting back the ride's opening indefinitely. 2 more years passed, with work on the ride being a near constant event in the park. In 2013, the German government gave Nürburgring the green light to open the coaster to the public. Unsurprisingly, the weather in the German Rhineland in late October was not conducive to riding roller coasters. The ride operated for 4 days before the complex closed for the 2013 season. A new owner assumed control of the park during the off-season, and the owner announced right away they had no intention of opening the expensive coaster up for the next season. It sat, not operating, for 11 years before demolition began in summer of 2025. This ride cost the park 13 million euros. Number 4 is an Intamin Halfpipe on top of the Don Quixote retail building in Tokyo, Japan. This LSM-driven halfpipe coaster was engineered and constructed by Intamin, all the way back in December of 2005. According to Intamin, while the 8-story apartment building was strong enough to support the weight of the ride, the lateral forces placed upon the building by the ride actually being in motion were too great for the ride to operate safely with people on it. This coaster sat atop the building for at least 12 years without giving a single ride before it was eventually torn down sometime in the late 2010s. It cost the business 800 million yen in 2005, about $6 million in today's money. At number 3, we have the infamous Son of Beast at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. Arguably the most famous coaster failure, the Son of Beast, the failed sequel to Kings Island's legendary wooden coaster Beast, was plagued with problems from the very beginning. During construction, a 50 by 100 foot section of the second hill collapsed under its own weight, while being temporarily held up by tensioning cables rather than its own structure. After 2 non-fatal accidents, one of which was based on the actual structure buckling and creating a literal speed bump on the track, structural segments had to be replaced, the trains were replaced, and the loop was removed. But none of it was enough to save this ride. After 9 seasons, Son of Beast ceased operations, and in 2012, it was torn down to make room for Banshee, the world's longest B&M invert. Fun fact, Mantis at Cedar Point was originally intended to be called Banshee, but there was public outcry because Banshee was a symbol of death, and the local news picked up on it and said, Cedar Point's going to name their roller coaster after a symbol of death, and Cedar Point got spooked off of it, pivoted, and changed the name to Mantis. Now, Mantis bears the unenviable name of Rougarou. Anyways, Son of Beast cost Kings Island about $20.5 million to construct, and after all of the maintenance, partial demolition, reconstruction, and eventual removal, the total price tag was closer to $50 million. Number 2 are the abandoned B&M Hyper and Wing coasters at Go Dreamworld in China. These coasters were purchased by B&M by the developers of Go Dreamworld, manufactured, shipped to the site, and erected. Both of them have fully custom layouts. These are, world-class coasters. This is a Raging Bull and a Gatekeeper, but completely custom, sitting at a park in China that has never opened its doors. As of today, the Wing coaster layout has been cloned, but the Hyper coaster is a completely unique layout still to this day. And as of today, nobody has verifiably been able to say that they've gotten on this particular hypercoaster model and rode it. A B&M Wing coaster costs on average about $20 million, and a B&M Hyper averages about $25 million. So the developers of Go Dreamworld are in the hole in this unopened park to the tune of at least $45 million, and that's just on B&M coasters alone. At number 1, I have Orphan Rocker in Katoomba, New South Wales, Australia. Now this one takes my number 1 spot, not because of the cost, not because of some catastrophic event that left innocent people injured and left a scar on the entire thrill ride industry. No. This one makes the list because of just how long it failed. The sheer dogged determination of its owning family to get it open, and the universe's outright refusal to play along. The name was a play on words of the nearby Orphan Rock formation, and the rocking pendulum nature of the unique ride vehicles. Construction of this ride, an over-the-rails coaster with a pendulum mechanism, began over 40 years ago in 1984. Construction wrapped up in 1988, but the coaster did not open, and rumors of it being unsafe began to take root in the local area. Segments of the ride were replaced in the 90s, but the ride still failed to open to the public. The wheel hub assemblies for their trains were replaced in 2002, but the ride failed to open. In 2006, the ride's owner gave an interview to the local news, assuring the public that the ride is not only safe, but she has ridden it, and the ride is going to be open in the near future. In 2017, 11 years later, park guests reported seeing segments of the track being removed. Most of the track still lies dormant in the Blue Mountains of Australia, slowly being reclaimed by Mother Nature. So that's it. Those are my 10 biggest roller coaster failures of all time. Did I miss one that you think deserved to be on the list? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to my page if you want to see more content. Thanks again for watching. Vertical Drop Viking out.